Lovely work. It's Gordon. Raphinha! Yeah, that's another one.
They managed without a proven reference point at the weekend to score 5 against Elche. Do they even need Julian Alvarez this season?
Have the lead inside the first quarter of an hour.
I do think it's important, of course, that clubs at this stage of the season, in other words, with the season just about underway but the transfer window not closed yet, don't allow themselves to draw conclusions on the basis of an opening weekend win away at Elche, for example.
Barcelona have begun their title defense with 5 goals, a clean sheet and a big statement. Raphinha scored twice, Fermín López scored twice, and Karim Adeyemi marked his Barcelona debut with his first goal for the club. On the surface, this looked like almost a perfect opening day, but tactically, I think this game told us something far more interesting about what Hansi Flick is building this season, because while Barcelona scored 5, there was one area of the attack that actually struggled, and strangely enough, solving that problem eventually revealed something else. Barcelona might not need their goals to come from where everyone expects them to, and one player in particular could completely change the way we think about this attack. So rather than simply going through all 5 goals, I want to show you 3 things this game revealed about Hansi Flick's new Barcelona, and the first one is actually a problem. Now, Barcelona started in their familiar 4-2-3-1, while Elche took a much more conservative approach with a 5-4-1, and naturally, that gave Barcelona control of the ball. But possession isn't always the same thing as penetration, because despite eventually scoring 5 goals, I thought Lamine Yamal and Karim Adeyemi were surprisingly quiet for significant periods, and there's a tactical reason for that: the fullbacks. For all of Eric Garcia's qualities defensively and in the build-up, he's never been the kind of overlapping fullback who consistently threatens the opposition in the final third. And Barcelona had a similar problem on the opposite side, so look at what happens to the wingers. Without an aggressive overlapping run outside of Lamine Yamal, the defender can simply concentrate on protecting the inside channel. And the same thing happens with Adeyemi. There isn't enough movement around him to create the isolation Barcelona actually want. Compare that with what happens when you've got a fullback consistently threatening the outside. Now, the opposition fullback has a decision to make. Does he follow the overlap? If he does, the inside channel opens for the winger, but if he stays narrow, Barcelona can release the fullback on the outside. That's the dilemma you want to create. And against Elche, Barcelona didn't consistently create that. Now, that might seem like a small detail in a 5-0 victory, but against stronger opposition, it could become much more significant. Because if Barcelona want to maximize players like Lamine Yamal and Adeyemi this season, the structure around them has to give them the conditions to attack. But here's where things get interesting, because Barcelona didn't solve Elche by simply forcing their way through the wings, they found another route. Barcelona's first goal tells you exactly what this team still wants to be: aggressive, vertical, and absolutely ruthless as soon as possession changes hands. It was the high press from Xavi's part that forced Elche into a mistake. They concede possession, and then Fermín immediately releases the ball to Raphinha, who did brilliantly to turn his marker and force the foul inside the penalty area. The referee points to the spot, no question about that. Raphinha steps up confidently and slots it hard and low into the bottom right corner. Barcelona go 1-0 up.
Have the lead inside the first quarter.
Now guys, if you thought the transitional play that led to the first goal was brilliant, how about this for the second? Again, it comes off a mistake from Elche. Marc Bernal makes the interception, but notice this: he doesn't just head the ball away, he has the awareness to turn a defensive action into an attacking one by directing the header towards Lamine Yamal. And from here, everything happens quickly. Lamine Yamal releases a brilliant first-time pass into Raphinha, who receives it in his stride. He recognizes Adeyemi running off him and plays him in brilliantly. Adeyemi controls it, opens up his body, and finishes. First Barcelona appearance, first Barcelona goal. Barcelona go 2-0 up. And that sequence tells you something important. Barcelona don't necessarily need to manufacture every attack through long spells of possession. When Hansi Flick's high press works, the attack can begin before the opposition have even recognized. And that becomes even more dangerous when you look at the number of different profiles Barcelona can throw at teams. We saw that in the second half. Pedri replaces the injured Gavi and gives Barcelona even greater control centrally. Then Dani Olmo and Anthony Gordon arrive. Suddenly, Elche aren't dealing with the same attack anymore. Fresh legs, different profiles, different movements, and a defense that had spent most of the game without the ball now has to solve a completely different problem. Look at Raphinha's second. We spoke about how devastating this Barcelona team have become on the counter-attack, winning the ball back just beyond the halfway line. It was a brilliant skill by Dani Olmo to evade 3 players and find Gordon advancing into space. Gordon then does brilliantly to get his head up and pick out the run of Raphinha. Now talk about a proper centre-forward's finish. Raphinha shapes his body as though he's going across the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper anticipates it and tilts towards the far corner, and Raphinha simply finishes near post. Brilliant. But there's something bigger here. Remember the discussion we've been having about Barcelona needing a centre-forward? Well, I think this is the alternative. Instead of asking who's going to replace Lewandowski's goals, maybe the better question is, how many players can Hansi Flick get goals out of? Raphinha can score, Adeyemi can score, Gordon, Olmo and Pedri can advance, and then there's Fermín López. Because what happens next might have been the most interesting tactical development of the entire game. Okay, so following the substitutions, Raphinha moves towards the right, Gordon stays on the left, and Fermín essentially becomes the false 9. Now, Fermín actually said in a recent interview that he can play there. Well, here's the evidence. 71 minutes, Pedri turns beautifully in midfield and releases Gordon around the halfway line. Now, I want you to observe something. Look at Fermín. As soon as he spots the pass from Pedri, he starts this brilliant run. This run is everything, because by continuing the run centrally, he forces the goalkeeper to get caught between 2 minds. Gordon suddenly has 2 options. He can either go for goal or lay the pass out to Fermín. He chooses to be unselfish, takes the pressure off himself by squaring it for Fermín. Now it's an easy tap-in. Brilliant football. 4-0. That's a midfielder arriving like a centre-forward, but Fermín wasn't finished. 8 minutes later, Barcelona attacked from the left again, and this time, watch the relationship between Gordon and Fermín. Xavi Esparza receives possession out on the left, Gordon moves wide and takes the fullback along with him, and that opens exactly the space Barcelona couldn't consistently create earlier in the match. The inside channel. Fermín immediately recognizes it. Xavi Esparza finds him with the pass, and from here, it's the individual quality. The first turn to get away from the defender, the other defender comes across to recover, so watch this, Fermín intelligently shifts it onto his weaker foot. That takes the other defender out as well, and then he has the composure to beat the goalkeeper on his weaker foot. 5-0. Guys, this is why Fermín López is such a strange player to define. He's not the conventional Barcelona number 10, and he's obviously not a traditional striker, but maybe that's precisely the point. He presses, makes third man runs, attacks spaces, escapes markers, and most importantly, he scores goals. His instinct when space appears inside the penalty area is genuinely unusual for a Barcelona midfielder, and perhaps Hansi Flick doesn't need to turn him into one specific thing. Maybe his value comes from allowing him to become different things within the same game. A midfielder during build-ups, a number 10 between the lines, and a striker when Barcelona reach the penalty area. That could become extremely important this season, because it takes us back to the question we opened earlier: who replaces the goals of a traditional number 9? Maybe everybody does. And that's why I think there's much more to take away from this performance than simply Barcelona beating Elche 5-0. There were 3 distinct clues here. The first is something Flick still needs to solve. Barcelona's wingers are at their most dangerous when the fullbacks create the width and the movement that allows them to attack the inside channels. Against better teams, that relationship will matter. The second is much more encouraging. Barcelona's attacking depth gives Hansi Flick the ability to change the profile of a game without necessarily changing the philosophy. Adeyemi gives you speed, Gordon gives you directness, Raphinha gives you movement and goals, Lamine gives you creativity, Olmo gives you combinations between the lines, and then there's Fermín, a player who might end up giving Hansi Flick something Barcelona weren't necessarily looking for, a midfielder who can become the striker without actually playing like one. And suddenly, Barcelona's decision not to build the entire attack around one traditional centre-forward starts looking a little more interesting. It's only one game, there will be much tougher tests, but we're already beginning to see the outline of what this Barcelona could become. And I think Hansi Flick has a lot more combinations to play with than he did last season. But again, it's not just about what I think. I want to hear from you. What was the biggest tactical takeaway from this performance? And particularly after seeing Raphinha and Fermín operating through the middle, are you comfortable with Barcelona spreading the goals across this attack? Or do you still think the club needs a traditional number 9 before the window closes? Let me know in the comments down below, and remember to subscribe to the channel because we'll be back here analysing Barcelona's opening home fixture against Athletic Club, and hopefully that's going to give us another opportunity to see how these ideas develop against a completely different opponent. And if you want even more Barcelona content, don't forget to check out my new channel Camp Nou TV Clips, where I'm exploring the club from a completely different perspective through documentary style stories and football features. So please go over there and support the channel. Until next time guys, see you soon, and Visca El Barça.